in perfect harmony, in perfect balance, and in perfect order, and it never struggles in the process. This is an energy, not a static energy. This energy never runs out of itself, and it's forever creating and becoming and making more out of itself. And it never stops. It never tires. It never sleeps. And it never dies. It just transforms to become something new. I choose to name it, although it'll answer to any name or to no name. I know it is Spirit. I know it is God. But whatever the name, this energy is fully present everywhere, all of it, all the time, all at once. And it's awake, it's aware, it's alive, it's within everything. And it's handling everything. It moves planets, changes seasons. It thinks thoughts. And it acts as a conduit connecting everything to everything. There is no place, there is no person, there is no thing, there is no happening where God is not. There is something more to our life than what we call our life. So I invite each of us this morning, as we set our own individual intentions, to remember throughout your day to know the truth of who you really are. You know, we're all that energy that's moving planets and hanging stars and thinking thoughts is being each of us. It's individualizing itself as each of us. That's what's breathing our breath and beating our hearts. That's what is digesting our food and thinking our thoughts. That's what's using our voice to speak. That energy is our very aliveness. It's who we are. We are spirit expressing. We are individualized expressions of God. We're a way, a path, a vehicle for God, for spirit, to make itself known, to experience itself uniquely in this world. That's the truth of who we are. So I want to take a moment to express my gratitudes. I am so grateful for the Center for Spiritual Living. I remember the day I walked through those doors. It changed my life. And I'm grateful to each of the members of this community who are here every Sunday to make sure that we have a Sunday morning service, both in person and virtually. And I'm grateful to the Board of Trustees for their good stewardship, for their dedication to keeping on. And I'm grateful to our minister this morning, Reverend Tamara Merrill. I know she's going to uplift us. And I'm grateful to each and every one of you who make up this beautiful community, for your generosity, for your love, for your support. It takes a village. So I let these words be now. I let this beautiful morning unfold. And together we say, and so it is.
Come. broken your vow 1,000 times. Come yet again, come yet again, begin again, whoever you are. Come
Good morning, everyone. And a special hello to all of you out there in Facebook and YouTube and Zoom land. And welcome to all of you this morning. My name is Reverend Tamara Merrill. I'm a staff minister here. And I just want to acknowledge Lucy for a beautiful, beautiful prayer. I don't know if I have anything to say after that prayer. I think you took my notes. It was beautiful. Thank you. So this morning, I have to tell you my journey. I spent the week pretty much crying all week long. And I wrote this amazing sermon. It was great. You should have heard it. And after I practiced it, it was a little long. It was almost an hour. So I only got 20 minutes. So what I did is I asked Elijah, I learned this thing called spiral dynamics. It's the evolution of consciousness. And I watched the videos, hours of the videos. A lot of theory. It's definitely a workshop. And I told Elijah, I think I got it. He goes, no, just go from your experience. I was like, what? He goes, yeah, just go from your experience of the theme. I was like, oh. So I threw it away, and last night I started all over again. Thanks, Elijah. The topic is to transcend and include. And the spiral dynamics gave me the feeling of hope, because as the spiral goes up, it goes from an individual consciousness to a collaborative consciousness, and it spirals up into enlightenment. And one of the things I got that to reach the next stage, you have to be willing to be less and less judgmental, because it's not about attainment, it's about awakening. And awakening is inclusive. Awakening is not only our individual growth in our spiritual journey, but being able to practice it to remember our oneness. We now have this wonderful opportunity here at the center to create our new story. And I'm excited. I'm very excited with Reverend Elijah and the team here. One of the things we were talking about how to create a new story was a few months ago I started off with remembering who we are. And in Lucy's prayer, she said it. We are infinite energy. Science even tells us this in the first law of thermodynamics. We are energy, and energy cannot be created nor destroyed, just transformed. The calling of our evolution is about remembering that the life essence of which we are is infinite. It is never born and it never dies. That's huge, and I'll always say that because it reminds us that We live both in a spiritual paradigm and a material paradigm. That's why we're incarnated in this wonderful body we're walking around in, right? One is not better than the other. They're to walk hand in hand in a dance. And our five senses serve us, our ego serves us, if we carry them correctly. And what that means is to remember that we are not our thoughts, but we have thoughts. We are not our emotions, but we have emotions. We're not going to do a spiritual bypass and say when someone has a loss that you're not feeling those feelings, when you're upset, when you're angry. But how do you carry them later? Do you remember it's an experience and that we're always in the place of recreating and creating life, every breath we take? So, I have a question for you. How many people want to see change in the world? Can you raise your hand for me? Awesome. Everybody looks like they raised their hand. How many people want to change? Oh, good. I didn't raise my hand, but no, I do want to change. But I sometimes go kicking and screaming out of my righteousness and my lack of remembering who I am and what possibilities I have in creating my story, my life experience. That comes to the second part that I talked about last month about creating a new story, and that is letting go and forgiving. That's a tough one. I remember someone once told me in a sermon that fear is false evidence appearing real. And that evil is obstinate ignorance. And that we have a choice out of every experience that we have to either be bitter or to become better. What's our choice? And I remember, I'll never forget this, and I don't remember where this came from, but it says, when we do not forgive, it is like drinking a bottle of poison and wishing the other person to die. Now, many of these things you might have heard before, but it's the practice of them, and it's the parable that reminds us that we have work to do in each moment, but not the drudgery of working, but of becoming lighter in who we are and who we're becoming and possibilities. So, for today, the third ingredient for creating a new story is to set our intentions and to take responsibility. And again, Lucy said it all. Setting intentions is setting into motion the practice and the principles we want to experience. More life, more love, more joy takes us to and reminds us that we must have the intentions. How do we want to live? Do we want to keep holding on to the things that don't serve us? And our ego will say, yes. Our ego says, in order to survive, I must be right. The righteousness of it all. You want to be right or you want to be happy? Very simple. Very hard to do sometimes. Our ego has been there to protect us from not eating the wrong berry when we were cave people, so that if we were wrong and ate the wrong berry, we were dead wrong. If we didn't see the saber-toothed tiger behind the plant, we were dinner, you know? So being right is a survival mechanism. However, we may think we have tigers and poisonous berries in our environment, but we really don't. Especially when it comes to world perceptions And all the world perceptions are right here in between our two ears. And they're imprints in our mind. And they are neuron pathways that we've grooved in from our past experiences, right? And what we have judged and determined what the world really is, our worldly perceptions. But guess what? Each of us has a different one. So how do we collectively know what's right? With the quote today from Ernest Holmes, we are called to look deeper, to look deeper. And that's our intuition, that's our instinct. So that there is something that rises higher, that transcends our mortal thinking, our spiritual purpose is calling, our material paradigm is walking hand in hand to express through this body, but it's not supposed to be held by the body. It's not supposed to be held by our mind. We are open to possibilities. We are open to evolution, to something that can be found only in that language without a tongue. The language of God that speaks without a tongue. It speaks a universal language that all creation understands. We have always the ability to hear that voice. However, if we let the ego take us for its own ride through our past imprints, we won't hear it. Heraclitus said, our eyes and our ears are bad witnesses because they do not speak the language of the soul. The soul. We all know that we have something else going on that's deeper. How else can we maneuver through life with all the pain and suffering that exists without knowing that there's something bigger going on? I would like us to take a deep breath right now together, 3 deep breaths. Ready? And hold and release. Breathe in, hold, and release. Breathe in, hold, and release. In that moment, you weren't thinking, you were being. Breath gets us to an awareness that we cannot get to with our thinking mind. I kind of feel like my thinking mind's like going to Disneyland. Although it can take me down a slippery slope to hell sometimes. But, it's fun. I'm attached to things. I like this, I don't like that. This is fun, this isn't. But it ends. Eckhart Tolle said something, and I know Elijah was going to use it, but my friend who's staying with me this weekend shared it with me. It's like we want to attain this, we want to achieve this, we want to do this, and we want to do that. And then he breaks into a song, I can't get no satisfaction. Because what we are called, what we want, is the experience of things, not the thing itself. I don't know, our marketing shows us that all the time. Hey, if you got this, and if you look this way, and if you do that, then you will be handsome or sexy or rich and famous, and all that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. All the good books say there's nothing wrong with that unless you're super attached to it and you think that's it. Because in form and the formlessness, forms change, they evolve, they transform, they don't stay the same, and neither do we. The only consistency is remembering who we are and forgiving and letting go as we maneuver this dance between our material paradigm, our body, and our mind and our thoughts and our spiritual reality. There is a wonderful way to explain responsibility. We must take responsibility, or we cannot spiritually travel down the road to enlightenment or much growth. Because if we do not take charge of our own thoughts, our own mind, our own body, then we will be tossed to and fro in life. Responsibility is the ability to respond and not react. The reactive mind gets us into a lot of suffering. The responding mind gets us into more awareness. There is a minister, he's not on this plane any longer with us, out of the old church in Los Angeles was called Founders. It's now in Colorado. And there was an assistant minister of Founders who was also a very popular practitioner. And people would come to him for spiritual counseling. And as you walked in, he said, you know, the first 2 times you come in, you can bring anybody you want into the counseling session. Anybody you want, you can bring in. But after the 3rd time, you're not allowed to bring anybody in. And they go, oh, I don't want to bring anybody. And he said, okay. Well, what he meant by that is as you go in and you're saying, my mother did this to me, my ex-husband left me, my children are mean to me, my neighbor is awful. He goes, you just brought 4 people into this conversation, into this room. You brought 4 people in. He goes, okay, you can do it one more time. My dad did this, you know, the world did this, my company did that. I have been downtrodden because I have been a victim. He goes, that's great. You brought 4 more people in. Next time, you got to find another practitioner if you want to choose to bring people into your session. So the 3rd time you go in, and you have to talk about you, how you created it. What's your response? What are you doing about it? Why do you feel that way? Because all spiritual growth starts with introspection, self-reflection. It all starts with self. Self-reflection is the only way to grow. And that's really the only work to do. You know, I have this quote here that I absolutely love. And it seems really real for me right now because I was having lunch with a friend who constantly was having the same theme for herself about how much she gives and nobody appreciates her. I felt like that before. The quote says, if you're helping expecting something in return, you're doing business, not kindness. Yeah? And the biggest thing in intention is expectancy versus our expectations. And man, is that a hard one to take when it's on you. Expectations. I have some. And it causes me a lot of suffering most of the time. Expectation. I did that for you, so you should do this for me. I was nice to you, so why aren't you nice to me? And it goes on and on and on. Expectancy is a spiritual quality. And I remember growing up in this philosophy way back when, and a long time ago. And we were doing our treatments and our visualizations, and we were wanting to manifest things. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to manifest things, as long as you remember its form. And they said, remember the qualities of what you're wanting to experience. Because you're not supposed to covet. You see a house, I want that house. And I was told, oh, no, you don't want something that's not yours. You want this or something better. You always want to say something like this or something better. But what we want most of the time, if not 100% of the time, is we want a feeling that goes with it. Whatever that is, a feeling for safety, a feeling, whether it's money or things or a home, that's about the feeling for safety. The feeling to be loved, the feeling to be admired. It's a feeling, it's not a thing. So feelings, let's talk about feelings. The feeling atmosphere of things. We all know what we feel good about and what we feel bad about. We don't want the bad stuff. We just want the good stuff. Of course. However, as I've said before, sometimes my wrong choices have gotten me to the right place. Because my choices out of ignorance sometimes have winded me up suffering and in pain, but I became awakened from that experience. So suffering is a part of this life. But how we walk through it and how we carry it makes all the difference, doesn't it? When we remember who we are, when we respond to life with love instead of anger and disappointment, when we work on being better instead of bitter, it's a different life. It's a different experience. I'm going to share a story about my own awakening and my own creation of a story. I have some really close friends here who showed up to support me this morning, and some surprises. Several of them are friends of over 35 years of mine. One of my friends that was a youth leader when we were in our 20s with Terry Co-Whitaker and her husband, and two of my other good friends, and one of them has taught me a lot about Buddhism, and the other one we share a lot of fun things. When I was in my 20s, I was on staff with a woman called Terry Co-Whitaker, Terry Co-Whitaker Ministries. It was amazing, 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 amazing. And I knew that this was my path. I was, living with another minister, and we were going to get married, and I was living my dream, and this was a worldwide ministry and sending the message, and there were movie stars walking in, and there were thousands of people on Sunday morning, and things were awesome. And I thought it would continue, and I would become a minister and live happily ever after. As life goes, Terry was on the cover, back in the 80s, Prosperity is Your Divine Right, Creation, Manifestation. And then Terry went to India and had a numinous mystical experience and came back with all that fame, millions of dollars, movie stars clamoring to be there. And she came back one Sunday and said, "I'm done." And, talk about a pin dropping. I'm done. I had a revelation. The material and what I'm doing, I'm not supposed to be doing outwardly work. I'm supposed to be doing more innerly work. The kingdom of heaven is within, and I'm going to go to India and tend cows. Now, the world's response was, what happened to her? Did she go off the deep end? Is she a little cuckoo, Why would she give up everything and walk away? If we remember our stories of all the mystical leaders of our beloved Jesus and our beloved Buddha, they walked away from the material to walk the path and teach the spiritual. She knew that for herself, she had to go deeper. And because of that, I was like 29 years old, going to be 30, and I had goals. I was going to get married, I was going to be a minister, I was going to do all these things. What? It's gone. Because forms come and forms go. They transform. So we can't get attached to them. So, the worst thing in my life scenario was going back home to my parents' house in a small little agricultural town from the big city. And I broke up with my boyfriend too. Packed my bags. I wasn't getting married, wasn't having babies. I wasn't going to live this big life in this big ministry. And I went home, with my bags on my back. Failure. So I got there, and I was bitter. I took all kinds of people with me in my story. And I wasn't bitter so much at Terry, but just bitter at all the circumstances. And I got sick. It's really the only time in my life I've been sick. And I almost died. That really took my attention. Used all my practitioners and practical experiences and called up my ministers. And I know that I had a part in that creation. It wasn't my fault. It's not about fault and blame and shame. It's about creation. It comes and goes. We attract. And I wasn't able to have any children from that experience. I had to climb out of a dark hole. So one day, and I'll hurry through this, one day, I said to myself, Self, you need to practice these principles. You need to go to spirit. So I meditated and I took long walks. And I was up in the mountains where there was lots of deer, mountain lions, all kinds of things. And I finally said, Spirit, I surrender. I just surrender. I surrender. I don't know what to do. Things are just getting worse. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And something said, just take another step and walk that way. Okay. I took another step and I walked. And honest to goodness, Spirit led me down the corridors of this college. And I ended up in front of this office building that said DSPNS. And I said, what is that? I don't know what that acronym stands for. And before I walked in, I said, okay, what have I been working on? I've been working on the qualities of what I want in a job, qualities of what I want in a family, and what that feels like to me. And I said, my mom worked in the migrant camps with little children, and she had a lot of joy from what she did. Because if I wasn't going to be a minister, a worldwide minister, then I had to decide what else I wanted to do. And the second quality of my father was he worked at a college, and, it was an intellectual community, and he really thrived on that, and I liked that, and I liked the money. So I said, I like those two qualities. They resonate with me. And I want to feel like I have a purpose, a bigger purpose. So with all that tucked away, I walked into this building. And I didn't know where I was or what I was going to say. And Spirit moved me as the woman stood up from the back and said, can I help you? I go, I'm not sure. She goes, what are you doing here? And I said, I'm not sure. Now looking like, are you lost? And I go, I don't think so. And I asked her, I said, I think I want to volunteer. Where am I? This is where I'm supposed to be. She says, well, you're in the Disabled Students Programs and Services. And I said, oh, okay. And after talking a couple of minutes, I said, can I volunteer? She said, sure. So I volunteered that summer in a class with students with intellectual disabilities and physical disabilities. Shortly, I fell in love with doing that. It's a vocational 3-year program. And out of that, I got a job. I have to tell you that your blessings don't always come where you think they come from. I ended up being a foster parent to teenagers with disabilities. I built a community of people and parents that became my family. I was so blessed for 33 years to work with these kids, to see them grow. I used the principles, and I had to make the principles down to the very simplistic level in order for them to understand, which helped me a whole lot. So I have this big, beautiful family. I foster adopted 3, but there's about 7 in the clan, right? And a whole community would take 75 young adults to Disneyland every other year. Elijah's been with me on that. And to this day, this morning, my foster son woke me up with, "Hi, beautiful mama, how you doing this morning?" How blessed I am. I would never allow my mind to think, "Oh, I want to work with people with disabilities. Oh, it's going to change my life when I advocate. Oh, this is going to be my family." My family came through the opening of surrendering with my intention. And it has brought more to me than I could have done with my thinking mind. It has brought me unconditional love. It brought me purpose. It brought me so many things, so many blessings. And I smile when people say, "I don't know, I couldn't do that. I couldn't adopt people within, I just smile and say, "Oh my, what you are missing." I went to work every day, and when I walked through those doors, I was a superstar. She's here. It's a great day. The practice of joy, the practice of appreciation, of gratitude, they had. And when I get down on myself, I think to myself, some of my kids have to go out in the world, step out of bed with physical disabilities that people stare at them, with intellectual disabilities that make life twice as hard as it does for another person. The challenges are huge, and they go out with joy, excitement, and love. Not that they don't have problems, not that they don't fall down, but it reminds me of how blessed and gratitude I am. And with that, I remember that now is a time for a new story in my life. I retired. There was COVID. I have lost many people the last year and a half. 3 of my blessed children, adult children, to accidents, blood clots. And I've lost a good friend, a childhood friend, a college friend, so many. And the universe is always telling me there is something more. There is life, this life, then there's life, then there's life, and then there's life. That gives me peace. So, in creating a new story here, I'm very excited about. And I'm walking and letting go of a lot of grief. I buried my last girl on my birthday 3 weeks ago. And real quickly, they believe, she's Greek Orthodox. I walked with her when her dad passed, her mom passed, and then her brother a few years ago. And the Greek Orthodox believe that the soul stays with us for 40 days before it goes, so that we can grieve and it can be with us, the spirit can be with us, as we learn to let them go and give them peace by saying, "I release you," and then they can move forward. So it's our work to do that. And that's a good reminder. But every turn and every twist is remembering who we are, letting go so we are not bitter, but we're better, and to set our intentions and surrender to something greater, something good, to create the new story from the qualities of what we want to experience and how we want to feel. That's the opportunity that we have as a community here, and I'm so excited to be a part of it. And in ending, because I'm over my time today, is an homage. This is a cool little book called the Book of Runes, and it's a mystical runes of comfort for the bereaved. And I'd like to share it with you as my closing prayer. I am the light. I am the life and the way. The earth is my garden. Each of the souls I plant as seeds germinates and flowers in its season, and in each I am fulfilled. There is no cause for grief when a blossom fades, but only rejoicing for the beauty it held, and praise that Spirit's will is done, and Spirit's plan is served. I am one with all creatures, and none is ever lost, but only restored to Spirit, because it has never left me at all. For what is eternal cannot be separated from its source. I am with you as Spirit, and each of you is a channel of light. Feel my love enfold you in this moment and evermore. And so it is. Namaste. Thank you.
Right now. Rise up. Daughter
And that was Jennifer Russell and Michael Gale. Here we are at a time for our abundance affirmation. Let's affirm these words on the screen together. So take a deep breath and let's read this out loud. I open myself to receive great prosperity, health, and healing. Gratefully, I receive the gift that I am seeking. I accept my good and I send it on to bless all humanity. I am thankful to be so richly supplied and so able to serve. I am fully blessed, and so it is. So now it's time to say thank you. Thank you to you for being here. Thank you, Reverend Tamara. Thank you to our tech team, which is Susan Pankratz, Maggie Dreyer, and Nancy Laskagian. Thank you for all you're doing for broadcast and sound and to make all of the transitions happen. Thank you to Tina Thompson, who's our office manager, and Kathy Krizik, who does all the slides and makes all of this stuff happen. And just thanks for showing up today. I want to say thank you especially to those of you who are our CSL sustainers, those who pledge and who give regularly and help support this place and who invest in our story. So thank you. And if you feel the gratitude, if you feel inspired, if you feel like you got something out of this, there is the invitation to give. And so for those of you who are in the building, there is the little blue bowl on the way out on the right. Feel free to give any gift, offering, tithe of any kind. We are grateful for your investment in all that's happening here. And if you're online, there are multiple ways to give on your screen. Hey, so some of you have taken my Synthesis Chapter 1 class. And for those of you who've already taken the Chapter 1, there is a Chapter 2 class that's going to be starting in a couple weeks at the very end of the month. It's going to be Wednesdays from 4:30 to 6. It is on Zoom. And that class is about, and if you've been to Chapter 1, you learned about the 13 elements of ritual. And so this Chapter 2 class is about how to engage yourself in this idea that I call ritual living, which is creating sort of a spiritual plan for your schedules and ways of doing your life. And so if you haven't taken Synthesis Chapter 1, know that that class is just around the corner, and it's going to be coming out very soon. So, we want to paint. We are painting. Painting has started. If you notice when you walked in the lobby, I have taken over what used to be a storage room. That's now my beautiful office here in front of the lobby. Tina and I were here yesterday. We began painting her office, and she's very excited about the uplift and shifting the colors there. As Reverend Alice has moved on, there's been, over the last 6 months actually, there's been sort of a beginning plan of shifting and changing some of the purposes of some of our rooms. So what used to be the bookstore is now a small group meeting room. On your way out, you may just want to peek in what used to be the bookstore. That room is still in process. We want to paint that room. Reverend Alice's old office is going to be the practitioners and other ministers' office. So we're sort of repurposing and refacing. And so if you would like to donate or participate in making painting happen, we would love your money or your arms with a roller. It would be great to have some of us getting together and doing this painting together. So there are ways to participate in that, either with your time or with your donations. Would be greatly appreciated. Speaking of things moving, I'm looking to move. As I'm taking on this new space here in this community, my partner and I are looking for a new space here in the community. And so I know that someone here knows someone out there who has my perfect place to live. So it's all about community, it's all about networking. So if you know of anything out there, let me know. Next slide. One more thing that's going to be shifting soon is, for the last many years, there's been about a half a dozen faces on this stage. And I would like to see that change. And so this announcements portion that I'm doing right now and hosting the service, I would love to open up to members of this community and give a space for you to be seen, to be in a space of visibility and leadership. So if you're interested in doing the announcements or hosting the service, let me know. We're looking to shift some things around. Our beloved Sky Leona has her discussion group that meets on the second and fourth Wednesdays of the month, and that's a spiritual living circle, conversations based around the daily readings in the magazine, and I know that there's been a really great turnout, and the people who've been showing up have really been enjoying that. Sky, raise your hand if you want any more information, talk to Sky about that. We're almost done, guys. You know all the ways to be here. You can be here in the physical, in sanctuary. You can be here virtually on YouTube, Facebook, and Zoom. And hello and thank you to everyone who's tuning in from all the other spaces that you're tuning in from. Just a reminder that there is a small group who's begun meeting in the back garden before service at 10 o'clock for a meditation, and it's a beautiful space. When you're back there, you can hear the seagulls and sometimes smell the ocean. It's just lovely. Come meditate before service with Cheryl. And if you're online, join me in just a couple minutes for the talk after the talk. I'll be running into the back office and hopping on Zoom to chat with those of you who are there. And let's move to the next one. For those who are here, meet Reverend Tamara out in the front and say hello to each other and hang around for a little bit and just be in community and fellowship. So we have the talk after the talk. We have meditation before service. There's an upcoming synthesis class. You have spiritual circles, and we're painting. So thanks for being here. It's been a lovely Sunday. It's been very full. Our theme for the week next week is When the Road Gets Rocky. So see you then. Have a good week.